Yeah. All right. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's seminar. So today's e-learning session is to learn about advanced care planning in Ontario. So this e-learning session is co-provided by Momiji Health Care Society and the Japanese Social Services, and joined by Yee Hong Centre. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes. Okay, so this session is recorded, and please refrain from recording or taking photo of this session. And you will receive a copy of the presentation slide after the session. And you are muted during the presentation, so please stay muted until the Q&A time comes. And please keep your note for any comments and questions during the presentation. And during the Q&A session, please raise your hand for your comment or question, and you can unmute yourself when your name is called. We also received a question from the chat, so whenever you have a question, just type your question in the chat, and we will pick up from there. And it is up to you to have your video on. But we will very appreciate it if you could turn on the video, so it will be more wonderful for the guest speakers to interact with you. Okay, so the next is we would like to introduce hosting organization of today's seminar. So first, Chie-san, yeah. Okay, first, Chie-san from Momiji Health Care Society. Please go ahead.
Right one, can we let her know? I'll put you on hold, okay?
So hi, Momiji Health Care Society is a supportive housing for the seniors located in Scarborough, and we're serving seniors and caregivers in English and Japanese language. And we have a virtual and in-person programs already happening many times within a week. So if you are interested in, please call me or email me. And then February 23rd, we are having a state law free 30-minute legal clinics. So I'm sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. So we are having a state lawyer coming in and do the legal clinic 30 minutes free and by appointment only. And estate law is governing wills and power of attorneys and so on. So if you want to see the lawyer, and I want to discuss about your legal option and so on. I know it's short, but then there is an option for it. So if you can call me for the appointment, that'd be great. And other than that, so we have on the March 6th at 10 a.m., we are having a lunch and learn event. So this is an in-person event. You can learn how to make daifuku in person at Momiji. And after that, we're going to have a social gathering over nice yummy bento, which is $15. So if you are interested in attending, let me know by February 23rd. And again, we are also having this month as well, Torichi Bento fundraising. So if you are interested in contributing Momiji and also having yummy bento, also let us know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chie-san. So next up is Japanese Social Services. So my name is Rumiko from Japanese Social Services. So Japanese Social Services is a non-profit agency that provides counseling and programs in both English and Japanese. So you can reach us by phone or email. And we also have online programs. And this next month, we're going to have online senior yoga term 13th, which is starting from March 13th. So we are still accepting new registration. So please feel free to contact us for more information. Thank you. Okay, so next up is Angela from Yee Hong Centre. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Rumiko. I'm Angela, the social from Yee Hong. Yee Hong is one of the largest non-for-profit senior care organization. We deliver culturally, linguistically specific services to Chinese and other Asian seniors. We do have long-term care homes in different cities. And also we have a wide range of community support services and also a hospice residence. And I am from the family caregiver support and education team. We provide support and education to family caregivers in the community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Angela. So now let me introduce today's speaker. So Angela again. So Angela from Yee Hong Centre. So please go ahead, Angela.
Thanks, Rumiko. Okay. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here to talk to you about advanced care planning. This presentation will help us to understand the facts about healthcare consent and advanced care planning in Ontario. And also we'll share some tips for having conversations about your values, wishes, beliefs, and how this can relate to healthcare decisions. So advanced care planning is for everyone. It's not just for seniors or for those who have health conditions. So the objective, of today's presentation is mainly to help us to understand the knowledge, tools, and also resources about advanced care planning specific to Ontario. While we're going through the presentation, I would like you to consider the following questions. As you can see the slides, imagine you're at a hospital, too ill or hurt to speak for yourself. Do you know who would make healthcare decisions for you? Yeah, think about it. Yeah, if someday you cannot make the decision for yourself in a critical situation, so who can make the healthcare decision for you? And I also would like to ask you to imagine when your partner or parent has had a stroke and is unable to communicate with doctors. Would you know what is important to them and to make healthcare decisions on their behalf? You see, here we have two situations. One is about yourself. When you cannot make the decision for yourself, so who can make that decision, health care decision for you? The second situation is that, in our lifetime, we often would need to make healthcare decisions for others. So think about these two questions. You can write your answer in the chat box. We will come back after I finish the presentation. As you see from this cartoon, yeah, as he says, yes, one day we will die, but all the other days we will not, right? Advanced care planning is about all of those other days. So think about, what is truly important to you in your life. What do you value? And how do you wish to live your life? Like in my culture, in the Chinese culture, we often say, better safe than sorry. Which means we are not afraid of like, expected situation for 10,000 times, but just concerns about that one unexpected situation. So we don't know what to do. So many people may not aware of advanced care planning, or they might think it doesn't apply to them. The truth is advanced care planning is for everyone. No matter you are young, you are old, you are sick, you're healthy. It is recognizing that life is predictable, right? So if you were in a situation where you could not make health care decision for yourself, you would need a substitute decision maker to speak on your behalf. Then how the substitute decision maker can speak on your behalf is all depends on the conversation between you and your substitute decision maker. And they, if you have that conversation, they will know how to make that decision for the best interest for you, and also they would know how you want to live. Here are some, terminologies, and the words we used here are very important to create a shared understanding and meaning. On the left side, these are the terms. According to Ontario law, these are the terms we used in Ontario. Some of the terms on the right side, like in advanced care plan, advanced directives, living will, personal directive, these are not aligned with Ontario law. So many of these terms are borrowed from other provinces or jurisdictions. So we have to be very careful when we use these terms. But next we'll take a look at all these terms we use in Ontario and based on the Ontario law. So advanced care planning, healthcare consent, power of attorney, and goals of care. Okay. So what is the healthcare consent? So many people believe that healthcare providers can decide what treatments to give you, right? However, in Ontario, this is not the case. Before providing any treatment, healthcare providers must get the consent or get the permission from the treatment receiver, we can say the patient. So prior to any healthcare decisions, so the healthcare provider must obtain consent from a mentally capable person to start treatment. This includes small things like changing the prescriptions, from Advil to Tylenol, or to big things like open heart surgery. Consent is always needed. I don't know, when you receive the COVID vaccine, you will get the consent from the nurses, right? So that's the treatment. They're going to give it to you. The only exception when a healthcare provider does not need to get consent is if it is an emergency. So what kind of emergency it is? It refers to there is a high risk of death or serious injury. But once the person, the situation of the person is stabilized, they then have to begin getting consent, either from the patient or if they're mentally capable, or from their substitute decision maker. Yeah, there's only one exception, as in the, in case of medical emergency. So the healthcare providers don't need to get the consent before they start treatment. So to give informed consent, the healthcare provider must give you or your substitute decision maker the information you need to understand. So this is what your healthcare provider must do for their part in healthcare consent. It includes your condition and the recommended treatment. They can tell you what kind of treatment you need to have, right? But they cannot force you to accept that treatment. At the same time, they can discuss the alternatives to the proposed treatment together with the likely outcomes of accepting or refusing the treatment. So that's the, the purpose for the healthcare providers to get the health care consent. So to give informed consent, one must be mentally capable, which means the person must have the ability to understand and appreciate the consequences of the treatment decision. So that they put that mentally capable. If you're physically incapable, that's fine, as long as you're mentally capable. So it means you understand information that is relevant to making a decision about your healthcare. And also you can, display the ability to understand the likely results of making or refusing a certain healthcare decision. Have you ever come across a situation that you need to give the consent to treatment or care? So think about, from your own experience. So in Ontario, advanced care planning is to help us to identify who your substitute decision maker is, or can say to confirm your substitute decision maker. And you have to have conversation with your substitute decision makers and about what is important to you. And all this, should happen long before there is a crisis, right? It's more like, a plan. So that's the two major things need to be covered, or you can discuss, in the advanced care planning. So do you have a substitute decision maker? Well, see, if you have, you can put one in the chat box. So we will see how many people have, how many people they don't. So we'll know who here has a substitute decision maker. So most of us can see from the chat room. Okay, I see. Yes, okay. So you can write your answers, in the chat box. Most of us don't realize that, we all have a substitute decision maker, whether or not we take legal steps to confirm who it would be. No matter you have designated a substitute decision maker or not, every one of us, we all have a substitute decision maker. This is based in law, which references the substitute decision maker hierarchy. So I'm going to go through it with you on the next slides. Okay, so this is the substitute decision maker hierarchy in Ontario. It is based on Ontario's Healthcare Consent Act. So your substitute decision maker would be the person highest ranking on this hierarchy. So that person should be mentally capable and at least 16 years old. And also that person should not be prohibited by court order or separation agreement. And that person should be available and willing to assume the responsibility of giving or refusing consent. So let's go through each line to have a clear idea of how this works. So according to the law, you will see the highest. So by default, your substitute decision maker will be the person or the people highest ranked on the hierarchy who meet the criteria to be a substitute decision maker. You will see the yellow section. These are legally appointed substitute decision makers. Yeah, the first one, the highest, is the court-appointed guardian. And the second is for someone, they designated someone to be the attorney for personal care. So there is a document we call a power of attorney for personal care. So for the court-appointed guardians, people rarely go to that extreme because it's really, expensive and should go through the court. But for the second, power of attorney for personal care, that's ranked at the second on this hierarchy, right? So like, for example, people, they can, when they're still mentally capable, they can designate someone to be their substitute decision maker. So power of attorney for personal care, this is the most common type of legally appointed substitute decision maker. So this is the person you have chosen to be your substitute decision makers. If you prepare this document when you were mentally capable to do so. In my work, because my agency provides services for seniors, right? Especially for long-term care homes. They often will ask for this document for power of attorney for personal care. Like our adult day program and also our assisted living services, we often ask family for this document, whether they have power of attorney for personal care. So there are two types of power of attorney. One is for personal care and the other is for property. That's two different, things, two different documents and two different, substitute decision makers. And the third is the representative appointed by consent and the capacity board. For example, one of your family or friends could apply to tribunal to be named as your representative. So this is a type of substitute decision maker, and all this they should go that legal. These are the legally appointed substitute decision makers. So if they don't have this, then the second section, this is automatic family member substitute decision makers. So for example, if that person, they don't have court-appointed guardian, and that person or don't have designated power of attorney, then this will automatically goes to the family members. But in this section, the person's spouse or partner, that's the first priority. After that is the parents or the children. You see, parents and children, they have the same and the equal power and equal rights to make the decision, for the person. If that person have no parents, no children, then they go to the parents with the rights of access owning. Then siblings. If all this, they cannot find all this, then they go to any other relatives in the family. If that person, they don't have legal appointed substitute decision makers, or that person doesn't have family members as a substitute decision maker, then they have to go to the public guardian and the trustee. So in my work, I came across a client. He was divorced, and his daughter has no connection with him. So basically, they say he just live alone. At this point, we need to apply for public guardian and trustee, because we're really concerned about who will make the healthcare decision for that client. Next, we're going to share two scenarios to help us to identify who will be the substitute decision maker in that situation. Okay, we'll see. The first scenario. So Bob, 75, and is a widow. He has had a heart attack and is in a coma, which means he cannot give that health care consent. But he has 4 elder children. So Jane lives with Bob, and Terry lives an hour away. And Mark lives in BC. James lives in England. So the doctor has recommended Bob have bypass surgery and needs consent. So in this family, who is Bob's substitute decision maker? You can write down your answer in the chat box. Okay, all 4 of them. Okay, Jane. Different opinion? Let me see. Oh, okay. Jane. Okay, so we see. Okay, mainly 2. Jane. Okay, Jane or all of them. Okay, that's good. Okay. So in this scenario, all 4 children are substitute decision makers according to the hierarchy. No, I just showed to you, unless there is a POA, for personal care. So if Bob doesn't have a power of attorney for personal care, so all 4 children are his substitute decision makers, no matter where they live. Because all the children, they enjoy the equal rights. So people may ask, in this kind of a situation, what am I going to do? And some, daughter lives close to, lives with Bob. The other 3 are far away, right? But they have the same say in this situation. So in this family, among these siblings, so they could decide among themselves to allow one to make the decision, or one or more of them would opt not to be the substitute decision maker. Because people cannot force that person to be the substitute decision maker, right? But they can, decide among themselves, to allow to decide one who will be the substitute decision maker. Because the doctors want to communicate to all of them, right? They have to talk to Bob's substitute decision maker. Okay, good. Now, the second scenario, this is about a couple. They're married and have 2 teenagers, daughters. So one is 17 years old and the other is 14 years old. Kevin and Sarah get into a car accident and are both in hospital, unable to make their own healthcare decisions. Although Kevin and Sarah, they have both named each other in their power of attorney for personal care, but they don't have to name, alternates. So in this situation, who are these couples' automatic substitute decision makers? Okay, let's see the answer from the chat box. Let's see. Eva. Okay. Eva. Okay. Pretty straight, right? Because Emma is under 16 years old. Okay. Someone says they have to be over 15. No, the minimum age is 16 for power of attorney for personal care. Mentally capable, over 16 years old. You see, in this situation, although Kevin and Sarah, they both named each other in the power of attorney of, for personal care, but they don't have alternates. So in this situation, if I were Eva, so I will feel under huge pressure, to make that healthcare decision for my parents, right? So that's why it's, important to have advanced care planning discussions with the whole family, because we don't know, what kind of unexpected situation or instance, will happen. So if you do not feel that the substitute decision maker identified in the hierarchy is the right individual to act on your behalf, or you would like to designate someone specific to be your substitute decision maker, then you can write a power of attorney for personal care. So this is a written document. For example, culture, especially in extended family, they have, many siblings. For example, if the parents, or I can say the mom or dad, were received heart surgery, and the different opinions among the siblings. A says yes, B says no. So there is conflicts. So in this situation, what we're going to do, if you don't have designated substitute decision maker, so all siblings, they have the equal say in that situation, right? So if come into a situation and they don't agree among themselves, so that will be, put that, critical situation, make more stress for all the family members. So in this situation, you can, choose someone to act as your substitute decision maker. Like in Chinese culture, the eldest son in the family, maybe, has the hierarchy, have more power in the family. And the younger ones, they'll say, oh, listen to the brothers, right? But sometimes I say, what my parents want is different from what, the siblings, they want. Because each of us will have our different, values, beliefs, wishes, right? Based on our personal experience. So how the parents, their best of interest be adhered to. So that's why it is important that if you really want to protect your best of interest, then you can write a power of attorney for personal care. So this is different for a power of attorney for personal property. So these are the two different documents. So it is likely if you wanted to choose someone close to you or whom you trust, who knows you well, so it is important that you discuss your intent or your wishes, your values to that person ahead of time to make sure that they are willing to act for you if it becomes necessary. Okay. So in order to for you to work out the power of attorney for personal care, it does not have to be prepared by a lawyer. Yeah. So to be valid power of attorney for personal care for that person, if I want to designate it, so I have to be mentally capable. So I sign a document voluntarily, and they also must be witnessed by two people. It's not that complicated, but it is a document that can let you can choose someone can act on your behalf when you are not able to make the healthcare decision for yourself. That's the person you can trust, and that person understands you well, understands your wishes, your beliefs, your values. So we'll see the requirement to act as a substitute decision maker. There are two sides, right? What we talked about in the previous slides is for the people who gave their authorization. That person has to be mentally capable, right? And also they knows consequences, and sign documents voluntarily and be witnessed. Now, this part is for the people you designated as your substitute decision maker. So for these people, they also must be mentally capable with respect to the treatment proposed, and at least 16 years of age, no court order, or separation agreement, prohibiting access to the incapable person. And that person must be available. Think about the two scenarios we just discussed. Now, in Bob's family, who will be available? It doesn't mean, Jane lives together with Bob. Doesn't mean, she definitely will be available, right? She can say no, right? And also your substitute decision maker, that person is willing to assume responsibility of giving or refusing consent. Someone may ask, can I just pay someone to be my substitute decision maker? The answer is no. Okay. So when we are considering to designate or we choose a substitute decision maker, some of the things you need to consider, there's some suggestions for you to make a good, a decision on the substitute decision maker. So for that person, the substitute decision maker, that person can honor your wishes and instructions, even if they differ from their own, right? And that person can be a strong advocate. They can voice out on your behalf. They cannot just, when they talk to doctors, they have to speak out on behalf of you. And that person is guided by your most recently expressed values, wishes, and beliefs. So our wishes and our beliefs may change over time, right? So that's why it is important for us to keep the communication with your substitute decision maker, about your wishes and beliefs. And also that person, they have these traits is, is calm, can keep calm in the crisis and also be able to handle conflicts. So think about all these, good qualities, for you to designate a substitute decision maker. But for some decisions, you may not have given any instructions or may not know of any wishes you have, right? In that case, your substitute decision maker must consider your values and beliefs and make decision based on what he or she believes to be in your best interest. So here are some examples of how you can bring up these conversations. Start this conversation is not easy in the family, right? Because, okay, I'm healthy and that's far away. I don't need to have this kind of, document ready, right? But in reality is that all of us, we will have a substitute decision maker. So if you are healthy, that's good. So engaging in advanced care planning is like the insurance for unexpected events. If you have chronic or serious, health conditions, so advanced care planning or you designated a substitute decision maker can help you to learn about your health conditions and how this may impact your life over time. So you could start conversation. You could say, okay, my health is good right now, but I want to talk to you about what I'd want if I was sick and needed you to make decision for me. I remember one day I had this conversation with my son. That's because in the situation that I have a pet, and the veteran suggests to put the vet a shot because of my dog's the condition. And there are different opinions in my family. And my son insists, no, we need to keep it, as long as that the dog eats. But the doctor asked us to make assessment like, but in terms of the quality of life for my pet, and also the quality of life for the whole family. But still, my son has said, no, I don't want to do that, accept the doctor's, recommendation. So from that, I have a conversation with my son is that in the future, if I came across in that situation, I can only just eat, and I have no quality of life. That might be the time, to let me go, have this conversation, because for my value is my quality of life, my dignity, and my autonomy is important for me. Or you can say, maybe your doctor, ask you to talk about advanced care planning, so you can share that, wishes your family members or substitute decision maker. Then you can have a conversation, think about the situation, or the situation happened in other, others, right? They know if I came across in that situation, what I prefer. You always have this kind of a conversation, with family members. So that's the way you can get advanced care planning started. So what to talk about in that conversation? So you can talk about your goals, right? So your fears, your worries, yeah. You can say, especially when we come to serious illness, especially, we are from different cultures, we have different, beliefs and different belief system. So in this situation, we need to have that conversation within the family. And what gives you the strength, right? And also your ability and that you could not live without. So you can trace off you are willing to make. So we can come into that imaginary situation in the very beginning we talked about in this presentation. So if in that situation, what you are going to do? What's your preferences? Yeah. What your worries? What your goals? For example, someone says, no, I'm willing to undergo almost anything as long as I can watch football on television and eat chocolate, ice cream. So that's this person's preferences, right? So we respect that. Okay, some people may think about the quality of life. The quality of life is hard to define, but we know when we don't have it. So we know that quality of life is very abstract. People often have a hard time with it. Some people may say the quality of life is that, is to stay with the family members, right? Some people may say the quality of life, that means I can handle my daily lives by myself. So different people may have different, interpretations for their quality of life. Think about that time and what it is about the situation, and that wasn't acceptable, and also share that with your substitute decision maker. Yeah, okay. When we have that conversation about advanced care planning with the family members, there are things for you to remember. The substitute decision maker be aware of your values and what you view as meaningful in life. They also, they can understand how you make that decision, and has the information that would guide decision making for you. And also, remember, you have to avoid statements such as no machines, no feeding tubes, these types of things, whether you want to ventilator or not, right? I don't want the the tube feeding. Instead, you can share examples of what to make this situation bearable for you. For example, instead of saying like, do everything for me, you can describe what is meant to not to do everything. If that do everything means that some of the treatment really make you suffering, and say I feel pain, that's why I don't want to do it, right? So describe that your fears, your pains, your worries, more is more focused on your feeling why I don't want that treatment. So this is helpful to let your substitute decision makers know, right? And also, always remember, advanced care planning is a conversation, a gift. And as long as you are able to understand and communicate, you will make your own healthcare decision. Now, we just mentioned, we talked about the power of attorney for personal care. So that document can only be kicked in when you cannot make your own healthcare decision, even though that document should be, put into place when you are capable or mentally capable to do so, right? So you will see that's two different, situations. When we are capable, mentally capable to assign or designated a substitute decision maker, doesn't mean that person can make that healthcare decision for me at that time. They can only make the decision for me when I cannot make the decision for myself. Okay. So all this, advanced care planning is about your priorities. It's about you who gives your power of attorney, who make the, substitute decision maker. You and me, it's not about the substitute decision maker. It's about you, ourselves. So people have different priorities besides living longer, right? We want that quality of life. Those priorities vary and change over time. And the most reliable way to learn those priorities is to ask. It's always have that conversation in the family with family members, especially your substitute decision makers. I know that it is difficult, to start this conversation in the family. Sometimes people may think as a taboo, right? You're talking about death. Actually, it's not about death. It's about the health treatment. When coming into a situation, you cannot make a decision for yourself. Okay. Now, in some advanced care planning conversation, you can follow these steps. So step one is to confirm your substitute decision maker. If you choose not to designate someone to be your substitute decision maker, that's fine. So they'll go automatically, will go that hierarchy according to the Ontario law, right? So if you want to designate someone, then you can, the first step, you can confirm your substitution decision maker. Then you complete, you can complete a substitute decision maker card and keep in your wallet. And the next step is, start conversation, with your substitute decision makers and others about what is important to you, your values, your wishes, your beliefs. Okay. So here are some resources to help us to better understand what advanced care planning is. And also there's information about the power of attorney for personal care and power of attorney for property, for personal property. So these are the resources for you. You can browse by yourself. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for listening.